Welcome to Thoroughly Wrong. And now your hosts, Francisco and Rob. Take it away, guys. All right, welcome back to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. America has lost its collective mind. We've been away for a few days. Yeah, we've been away for a few days, but couldn't resist this election. Couldn't resist. What's up, man?
Nothing much, just like you said, dealing with everything that's going on, trying to process it, keep up with it, because it seems like there's something new every day.
Yeah, something and always different. This coronavirus, this pandemic is blossoming again, and we got 144,000 positive cases today in the United States and 251 right here in Kern County.
Yeah,
So,
we're definitely going back up.
but if we drop tiers, nothing really changes. I mean, nothing closes. I think inside restaurants close, but the schools aren't going to close again.
Yeah, I was reading the main thing a lot of people were worried about was schools closing back up, but I was reading that's not going to happen, especially if they're already in the process of opening back up.
Right. And there are schools that aren't open yet that have positive COVID cases. So
that's always a good sign.
Yeah, so we're going to bring in 500 students, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think that's going to work. I really don't.
I just wanted to preface everything. Today's November 12th, so we're a little over a week, like a week and a half removed from the election day.
9 days.
What was your opinion on that, on everything that's been going on about that?
Okay. My wife and I had a talk on election night because I went to bed completely thinking that it was over.
Same.
Yeah, and actually, I had a really bad night, slept poorly, had nightmares, like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know what's going to happen. So we woke up and Wednesday morning, and things were still fucked up. And I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. And she said, my wife looked at me and she said, are we missing something? And that was, that's that philosophical question that if you are an intelligent human being and someone says, or you might be missing something, you take a hard look at it, because when over half of your country is supporting a person, you have to think, am I missing something here? Because Trump is super popular with his base. So I don't feel that I'm missing anything. I sorted it out in my head. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I'm just of a different mindset than a Trump-based person.
Yeah. I've talked to a few people about this. I wouldn't consider it like a hot take or anything like that. It's just from what I've seen. I listen to a lot of political commentators, on the internet and the news and stuff like that. So my thing with Trump's base, and not even just Trump, but again, it's gonna sound like a hot take, but Republicans in general, that I've noticed at least, is they prey a lot on the uneducated population in this country.
Right.
I was reading somewhere that here in the United States, 7 out of 10 people don't have anything past a high school degree. So we're basically a nation of high school graduates,
Yeah, that's
a lot of people.
That's about right. In my home state of West Virginia, 25% of the people have a degree, and right here in Kern County, 22%.
Right. So when I say uneducated, I don't mean only dumb people are Republicans,
Oh, absolutely.
But in the sense, I mean it in the sense that if you look at Kentucky or states like Kentucky, Mississippi, they're some of the poorest states in the country, if not the poorest states in the country.
Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky.
Yeah, that's where Mitch McConnell's from. He just got reelected,
Right.
and I just feel like they're underrepresented. And like when something bad happens to those states, I feel like the Republican representatives kind of blame it on the Democrats, even though they're the ones running that state. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
and then the people that they're speaking to, their constituents, they kind of just go with it, and they agree like, oh, it's Obama's fault we're doing so bad when your whole state is ran by Republicans. Like, hold up, why don't
Yeah.
you push back on them and like say, well, you're in charge of us. Like, what's going on? What have you done for us? What are you doing for us? And
Are
I
you
don't think those,
powerless? Yeah.
yeah, I don't think those questions are being asked because they're not very aware of like the big issues going on or how their state runs, stuff like that.
Right.
So when I say uneducated, I don't mean like, oh, you have to go to college or stuff like that. I just mean like, educate yourself about what affects you and how it affects you and who controls what affects you. And you can make better, decisions based on that.
Yeah. Let me help you out here. I When you say uneducated, you mean no college and in a lot of cases haven't finished high school.
Right.
So, right. And then no AA and you didn't go get special, you're not a welder, you're not anything. You're just this guy that or gal that got their job in the town that they live in. And the thing is, I used to be that guy. Now, I didn't go to college until I was 30. I didn't start college till I was 29 or 30. And in that 9 years, 10 years from high school, I went to the Marine Corps. And then after the Marine Corps, I lived in a really small town in West Virginia and I worked in a glass factory. Okay. I read the local newspaper. I listened to local politicians. I did local things. I never left. And the thing is, that was safe to me. And that's what's safe to those people. They only understand what's going on in the little bubble that they live in. And when you say uneducated, not stupid, I totally get what you mean because in the cases of the people that I knew there, to be a glass worker or a mechanic or a farmer takes a tremendous amount of intelligence.
Yeah.
But the thing is, at age 29, I decided to go to college. And when that happened, I began to morph into something else. And I lost my hometown and I lost my state and I lost my family, my people, because I began to think globally instead of locally.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a
yeah,
hard like concept for people to start thinking about, which I mean, for a lot of situations, it's perfectly understandable. It's kind of hard to think about existential crises when, you're struggling to put food on the table or pay your bills.
right. And my pleasure was, sports and football and things like that. I didn't know how the government operated. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I just thought whatever the local news or the local politicians or the local newspaper tells me, well, that must be the facts.
Yeah.
So when I say the problem, like you, I totally agree with you. The problem is the uneducated. And that's what Donald Trump preys on. He preys on their fear, is what he does. He calls all Mexicans rapists and murderers. So therefore, everybody in the small town of Western West Virginia goes, yeah, our president says that everybody coming over the border is dangerous. So we have to, that xenophobic nightmare that this president is.
Yeah.
And he knows how they think and he knows what they want to hear. And he tells them that. I'm bringing back your coal. I'm protecting you from the Mexicans. I'm doing this and this and this. And that's the thing that they fear the most. So this pandering to the lowest common denominator, and I don't mean that in any pejorative way. I do not mean that in a pejorative way. Let me say it 3 times. I don't mean it like that. but he panders to the lowest common denominator, the people that don't know how to think about things because they've never been challenged to think about things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you, dude.
I was
The
talking,
problem here is the uneducated.
yeah, because I remember on election day, I was actually talking to, I went like on this whole like little mini rant on Instagram.
What,
Um,
you went on a rant? Really?
not on a rant like as in like recording myself, but just like post. Like I
Okay.
posted a bunch of things, and like at the end of it, I asked someone, or I asked people, like, I want to hear your opinions on why you're voting for Trump. If you're voting for Trump, it was like anonymous, so I wasn't gonna like put people on blast or anything. And one of my friends, he actually replied to me, and he asked me why would you vote for Biden, you know?
That's an excellent question.
And
It's an
I
excellent
pretty much,
retort to your question.
I laid out like my opinion on like his policies and why I prefer them, especially when it comes to healthcare, the economy, this whole like police brutality issue that we have right now,
Yeah.
which Biden has, a plan for. He has a plan to battle the coronavirus, whereas Trump has no plan for any of these things. And we kind of had like this little, conversation back and forth. And he was telling me, yeah, man, I'm just tired of uh, like the Dems kind of like not doing anything. He has this feeling that, they just drag their feet on everything. They, they make all these promises and then don't come through for them.
Well, you do have to have some cooperation from the other side in order to get anything done.
Right. And I was telling him, like, I agree with you. Like, you know, I was hard, especially towards, like when it got closer to the election. I was very hard on Biden, like hard, but when I say hard, I mean like I was really like, yes, like we need to vote for Biden. Like he needs to win. And that's not because, 100% support him. Like I'll criticize the hell out of Joe Biden, especially these next 4 years.
Right.
Uh, but for me, like just looking at the two options, it's not even close. Like in almost every single way, if not every single way, Joe Biden is a better option than Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
agree. I agree.
and so I was just telling him, like I was kind of giving him the little spiel about, how Republicans tend to prey on like the ill-informed or miseducated people. And he's like, yeah, I get that. That makes sense to me. He was in a boat where he was just tired of the Dems kind of just not doing anything for him,
Right.
which I get. I've been there myself too, and it can get frustrating, to the point where a lot of people are like, okay, well, I gave it a try, and nothing happened, so I'm gonna try to, switch over, see if things are kind of greener on the other side. And I feel like a lot of people felt that in 2016, and a lot of those people that voted for Donald Trump back in 2016 kind of saw like, whoa, it's not as we didn't have it that bad. Now that I think about it, on the blue side.
Right.
So yeah, it was just like I was like nail biting all night that night. I have like a heart rate monitor on my watch. It was like alerting me every 10 minutes, like you're sitting still, but your heart rate's like at 120. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Leave me alone.
And then I remember the next morning, like I was like you, I went to bed like this is 2016 all over again. Because all I kept hearing from the news was, all these states are kind of, there's no states that have flipped. They're all, kind of just falling in line from the last election. So I was kind of like, oh, it's going to happen again. And then the next morning I see like Michigan and Wisconsin like trending blue. And then Biden takes the lead. And I was like, oh, damn, never mind. As the days
Yeah.
went on, I think by the third or fourth day, I was like, okay, he's going to win.
Yeah. It took 3 or 4 days for me too. But, that Tuesday, God, that was awful. That was awful. That was like, I was thinking, another 4 years of this nightmare of every day waking up to find out what the hell he did today.
Yeah.
I don't think we could take that anymore. But the thing is, half of American voters want that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I don't understand it, Francisco. I do not understand why you would want that kind of racist, homophobic, misogynist bullshit every single day. The xenophobic asshole that just spouts off whatever he wants to say every single day. And when I go back to what we said before about the uneducated, I even uneducated, I don't understand why you would want that as your leader. It's unbelievable to me.
I think I mean, if you look at it, for a large portion of this country, or for the people in this country, whoever the president is, I mean, at least for the most part, it's not going to affect their personal lives all that much. But there's also a pretty big portion of it that they will, and
Yeah.
those people are like minorities, LGBTQ people, uh, like illegal immigrants, um, DACA recipients, people that are literally like their livelihood is at stake,
Yeah.
depending on who's in the White House. And those are just
It's
things
like,
that your average, for the most part, your average person doesn't have to worry about.
yeah, I
So
don't have to worry about getting sent back to Nicaragua, a place I've never been, but somehow, by American law, I belong there.
yeah, so that um, I don't like to overuse the word privilege, but that's definitely a privilege that a lot of people here have. Um, you know, it's not gonna whoever if Trump or Joe Biden's president, it's not gonna affect our paycheck. It's not gonna affect um, you know, our lives in any way
Right.
for the most part.
Unless we have a Nicaraguan friend, then it
Right. So
affects
when
us.
so when you tell people that aren't gonna be affected by this, like, well, think about, the children in the cages, or think about women. They're very worried about, their rights getting taken away. A lot of people just, I think it comes down to like almost selfishness, where it's like, well, it's not going to affect me, so I really don't care, all that much.
Yeah. But everybody lives their own life, Francisco. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard. And I don't say this in a bad way at all, but it's hard to live your life caring about every single thing that's happening. You pick and choose your battles here. And
Yeah.
it yeah, I am a 55-year-old white male. I feel really badly about what's going on, and I voted to stop it, but there's not much else I can do. There's not much else I can do.
Yeah, it's very hard to, in a country of 350 million people, to kind of do something dramatic on your own.
Yeah, it is. It can really destroy your ability to fend for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hard part about all this. I have serious I have seriously considered running for some sort of political office here in Bakersfield. I think I could. I, I I don't know if I would make a dent in any big way, but the thing is, having somebody like me in office begins to change things, and I may not see the change, but the sixth person away from me, that may be the change.
Yeah, so start somewhere. It's like a snowball effect.
Yeah, so it's really hard when your president is Donald Trump to feel like there's any hope for any positive change. His version of positive and his base's version of positive is different than mine, which takes me back to am I missing something here? I don't understand it. I'm in the complete and opposite side. And not only am I left, I'm far left when it comes to him. So it
Hmm.
makes it really difficult for people on the right to understand me or me to understand them.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at Joe, he, I mean, if you put him in like Canada or in a lot of other countries, he would be, right down the middle, if not
Yeah,
considered somewhat conservative, especially looking at his track record, and especially if you look at Harris's track record.
right.
For many people, they'd be considered, center right or center left. Republicans and Donald Trump, they made a really good effort in making a lot of people believe that they're just outright like socialists.
Yeah,
And there was
that's because
nothing
people
more.
don't know the definition of
Yeah,
socialism.
and I think this was very evident in Florida during the election. Um, if you look at the demographics that Trump got in Florida, his Latino vote was way up, way higher than expected. And I think what a lot of people realized, especially in the media, was that you can't condense the Latino vote, quote unquote, into like one group of people that's always going to vote a single way. Because even within, the Latino or Hispanic community, there's factions. There's South Americans, there's
Of
Cubans,
course.
there's Mexicans, and they all have their different, um, kind of culture and like beliefs. And like I was saying, in Florida, there's a very large Cuban population. I don't know if
Oh,
you heard about it
yeah,
on the news.
definitely. I know all about that.
So a lot of them, they're coming from Cuba. They they've experienced, the the life that they had there. You know, so when they hear the word socialist, it's almost like a trigger for them. So when Donald Trump and all these people are saying like, "Oh, they're going to turn this country into a socialist country," they're thinking back like, "Well, I just fled a socialist country,
Exactly.
and I didn't want that." So
Exactly.
they're going to vote for him, and that was one of his main. I would say that's probably the reason he won in Florida. If it came down to one like major deciding factor, I would say it would be the Cuban American vote um,
Yeah,
in
I would
Florida.
too. Because if you took out the Cuban American vote, he would have lost Florida.
Yeah, and then if you could swing it the other way, if you look at Arizona this past year, it's gonna flip blue. I mean, at least that's what they're projecting. Um, in a state that hasn't been blue for a while,
Right.
and they credit a lot of that for a few reasons. I would say the biggest reasons was one, Donald Trump was like shitting on John McCain, every chance he got,
Yeah, that hurt
and
my
he's
feelings,
like,
man.
he's a pretty popular dude there. Especially after he passed away, like you're gonna dump on him after he's passed away. I
Yeah,
don't think that.
don't speak ill of the dead, man. That's low.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think that flew well down in Arizona. That, and then if you think back like 10, 12 years ago, there was a lot of news stories coming from Arizona about um, there. I forgot his name. There was like this sheriff that was like they called him like the most racist.
Arapaho?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
Joe something.
And he had like very like hard like radical like immigration like policies,
Right.
uh, like they could stop people if you looked Hispanic, or if you looked like you weren't a US citizen, and they'd ask you for your papers. But guess what, that was 10, 12 years ago. Those people had kids, and those kids grew up during that time. They grew up being afraid for their parents, and now a lot of them are at the point where they could vote. And I think a lot of them, obviously, they remember that. They remember living through that. They remember their parents' fear. It's a daily thing for people that are not U.S. citizens. It's
Yeah,
a daily thing of like
he lost in like
Maricopa
2000,
County.
2016 to a Democrat. So
Yeah.
yeah, they'd had enough of him.
So I would say those are the two major contributing factors for why he lost Arizona. So you can see, on one side of the spectrum, the Hispanic vote, does one thing, and then on the other side, it does another thing. So you can't really clump it together as just, the Latino vote because
Yeah, well,
it's very
I
diverse
know,
within itself.
but that's American thinking, and what it is, you when you reverse that and you say, okay, all white people are the same, all Hispanics are the same, all Asians are the same. No, that's not even that's not even close to being true. But we never look
Yeah.
at those that uneducated, non-college educated people never look at the intricacies of what is really happening. When their news station in their town or their newspaper reports this to be a fact, then that's a fact. And that's what ripples through the entire community, and you cannot escape it. So when you say in a small town that Hispanics supported Trump in Florida, you don't discuss that, what you just said. You don't discuss the Arizona issue. You just
Yeah.
say Trump was supported by the Hispanics. And that's the truth. And it's so sad. And I hate to use the word sad. It's just so fucking maddening that we don't look past the when Fox News says something, and we on the right, on the left, are also guilty. Fox News has some things to say about Fox News's base, which would help us understand anything or everything better. And that's what I like about Joe Biden the most, especially after he got elected. I kind of fell in love with the guy because he's like, listen, we need to be Americans here, not Democrats, not Republicans, not white people. We need to come together as a country. And I love that about Joe Biden. And I'm glad that he has come down on that side. Very glad.
I think because we've been deprived of such like, I don't know, decency for the last 4 years. It's very refreshing now to hear, someone talking like that.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me feel like I took Obama's 8 years for granted because he's a very good speaker.
I really did.
Um,
He played a lot of basketball, and I was happy about that. I was like, my president's out shooting hoops. That's cool.
so yeah, like since the election, like I've just been hyper, like trying to stay up to date and like read all these articles, read all these stories, especially with all this like voter fraud thing that's
Yeah.
going on.
Did you put air
And
quotes around voter fraud?
yeah,
Okay.
big heavy air quotes. And it's just so, it's almost frustrating, and because there's so much like hypocrisy going on right now. Like
Yeah.
I've seen so many videos from like 2016 of like Republicans being, like, well, they can't be sore losers. They have to accept the results. Why are they asking? Why is Hillary asking for recounts? Like, just accept the results. Donald Trump's going to be the next president,
Right.
And then you look and it's like, that's exactly what's going on right now. And I've been looking on Twitter. There's like so many, I follow a lot of, I would call them grifters on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of people that they claim to be liberals, or Democrats, but they're just so fed up with the Democratic Party that they voted for Trump. But like if you
Are
see
those
like
dinos?
huh?
Are those dinos?
What do you mean?
Democrats in name only?
Yeah, exactly. So it's people like I don't know if you ever heard of them, like Dave Rubin. What's his name? This Tim something. I've seen him a few times on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh no.
But like if you look at everything they tweet, everything they talk about, it's just complete bashing of the left. and no criticism whatsoever of the right. Uh, so it's like, and like you look at all their like supporters, and it's a bunch of conservative people. So it kind of incentivizes them to kind of keep up this act of, you know, oh, I'm a Democrat, but I'm tired of their BS, so I'm voting red this time. And they feed into these conspiracy theories of all this like voter fraud, quote unquote, that's going on, when so many of them have either no legitimate, standing ground. There's been a lot of lawsuits that have been thrown out
Right.
because when all these Trump, legal team lawyers can make press conferences and claim voter fraud, and oh, we have so and so that's coming forward, and we have this video, and we have all this. But then when you go in front of a judge and you realize like, oh shit, I can't lie in front of this judge like I've been doing in my press conferences and on Twitter, because if I lie, that's perjury and I go to jail.
Right.
So when they get in front of these judges, um, they kind of backtrack a little bit, they kind of make it not seem that big of a deal. And then the judge is looking at it and like, well, there's no evidence here. And they throw out the case. And I'm pretty sure, I think that's going to keep happening until, January 20th.
I do
In
too.
the courts, they're going to keep losing in the courts. But outside of that, they're going to have these big, outside of landscape company press conferences and just, scream to the masses like voter fraud, like stolen election, all these things. And it's just so, I think that's the worst part, because, Trump's feeding into it. The people around him, like senators, other people in the Republican Party, it's almost as if they're afraid to kind of speak out against him, because they know that Trump has so much power within the Republican voter base that the second they speak out against him, he's gonna, call him out.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then
they,
they'll lose.
exactly. So they're kind of just like, a lot of them are either agreeing with Trump, like, oh, well, he's not president yet, or he's not president elect yet. The election isn't certified and whatever. And then a lot of them are just not saying anything. They're trying to, I think they feel it, like they know that it's over, but they're just trying to wait it out
They're
until,
just waiting
until,
silently.
yeah, until
Please
he's out of
God.
office.
That that fucking Mitch McConnell.
And,
Mitch
the,
McConnell, he's like stepping up
but
to the microphone and he's like, the president has every right to exhaust every legal
yeah,
situation that he can. It's like, Mitch, come, just fess up. You're
which
afraid
I
of
mean,
him.
like I agree with that. Like, if he suspects there's, foul play, whatever, yeah, you could, go after it. But to the level that he's doing it, he's undermining our like democracy, and how it's run in
Yes.
the United States. Like after this election, there's gonna be people for 4 years and a lot longer that are gonna be convinced that they were robbed, that Donald Trump was robbed, and they're not gonna hear any other opinion, whether you give them facts or not. Like they will be convinced Donald Trump should have won, and I think
Well,
that's gonna be the most damaging thing out of all of this.
yeah, to underline
It's
undermine the democracy it's a travesty what he's
it's
doing.
dangerous. It's very dangerous.
Oh my God, I know. I know. I've read so much about,
There's
when other countries are looking at us and we appear weak. And that's a dangerous time for our country right now.
yeah, there's a lot of I think it was the lieutenant governor of Georgia. He was he put this tweet out like, they claim they have, all this evidence of voter fraud, and there's like mountains of evidence, and he's like tweeting out like, oh, if you come forward and give us your evidence, like there's a reward, like a monetary reward. And it's like, on one hand, you're saying, oh, we have all this evidence, like Donald Trump's going to win, like they're going to overturn all these things. And on the other hand, like you're literally begging people to come forward and you're going to pay them.
You know what that Republican from, I thought, was it Mississippi? The what's his name, Price Wallace? He tweeted that that Mississippi should secede from the Union.
Yeah, good luck
What
with
kind
that.
of what kind of shit is that, man? That's seriously, what is that? The whole uh, you can't secede from the. I get, well, you know what? I'm going to have to backtrack immediately because California always wants to secede from the Union.
Part of me is wondering what that would be like. Um, but all the other part of me is like, let me move out of California and then you guys can secede. So in case it's a bad idea, I'm not there to witness it. But a lot
Oh,
of people don't.
Francisco, you're a coward. Let's do this.
It's a calculated risk. Um,
Exactly.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, all these people that I saw someone. I swear, man, Twitter's like the greatest app in the world. Um, they were like, Joe Biden should be the president for all the blue states, and Donald Trump should be the president for all the red states.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. I was like, okay, good luck with that. And a lot of, and Donald Trump has this big, like rhetoric that he always talks about how all these like highly run or like democratic run cities and states, like they always do bad, and they want all this money and they want all this bailout.
Yeah.
When if you actually look at the numbers, um, it's all the normally conservative and red states that one contribute the least when it comes to taxes, and then two, um, get the most money back when it comes to welfare programs and stuff like that. So it's kind of the opposite of what he's saying. California, New York, um, all these states, like these like highly densely populated states, are the ones that pay the most in taxes, that kind of keep our social programs in afloat.
Right.
So just it's just one of those things where you're trying to kind of tries to like flip it on people and convince them otherwise.
Why? Okay, here's my input on that. Why can't you convince someone that what Trump just said is a lie when you present the evidence? Like, here's the real statistics from a government source that are in conflict with what your president says. And they're like, nope.
You know why that happens, especially now? It's the whole fake news thing, that he pushed since 2016, 2015.
Yeah.
He's which I mean, is the news always 100% true and honest and unbiased? Of course not. But there's a lot of times where it is. Even Fox News has you know good reports and good journalism to a degree. And Donald Trump has made it to where half of the country essentially dismisses everything that the news says, like
Yeah.
100% everything. There was um even they're even turning on Fox News now. Like they're saying, oh, Fox News is pandering to Joe Biden because they called Arizona on the first night.
Yeah, because they have that new television station that they're all turning to now.
Yeah, like OAN or something like that. Which
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen. I've seen this like John Oliver bit on it. You should check it out. It's pretty scary how far right they are.
Well, yeah, you know the blonde-haired girl that's on OAN that she's like she's a commentator. Have you
Hmm.
seen her?
Yeah.
I When OAN came online, was watching it because I thought, okay, I'm gonna try it out because it's a different news source. It's not CNN or MSNBC or Fox and that is the craziest news station I've ever seen in my
Hmm.
life.
Yeah.
It's like it's something out of a science fiction novel. It really is. They just out and out deny everything that's going on, and they report how they think it should be. I don't know what the fuck they're reporting. I really don't. It's really insane. And I heard, and I don't know if it's true, and I'm not spreading rumors, but Donald Trump wants to buy that station when he's done.
Yeah, they've always been like very heavy pro Trump. They never criticize him, and he praises them for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like he would used to praise Fox News until they quote unquote turned on him by reporting the actual news. And
They
he
turned on
calls him
him.
out. He calls him out on Twitter, and then you look at all the Twitter replies, and it's like Fox News, like you guys are fake news, like OAN and Newsweek for me only from now on. And
Oh wait,
that's,
Newsweek?
I think that's what it was called.
Did Newsweek go right?
I think that's what they were. I think it was Newsweek, something
Oh,
news. But
hurts my feelings.
it's that whole rhetoric, of like, don't trust the media and anything. Which, I mean, like I said, like, I'm a very heavy like believer in like the whole healthy skepticism. It's
Sure,
always healthy to be skeptical of things,
sure.
never take it for face value. But at the same time, like once you look into it, and there's multiple sources, and like at some point it's like, okay, this is true, or okay, this is false, or like it's still up in the air.
Right.
But to just take things like, oh no, it's fake news. Today the secretary of DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security, came out and said, by our analysis, the this was the safest election we've ever had. And he meant safest as in like the least, like problematic and like prone to fraud.
Yeah, it has the highest validity of any election in history.
Right. So, that's his own administration. Like that's the Department of Homeland Security. Like that's the government telling you that. And I'm pretty sure there's people that are just denying it. They're saying, well, the media doesn't call elections. They can't decide who's the president elect. I mean, they did it 4 years ago. Nobody was complaining then. They've done it every 4 years for the past, 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever complained until now. And why? Because Donald Trump is on Twitter going off about how it's rigged against him. It's always been rigged against him.
I
And he's
can't
just,
wait till January 20th, dude.
yeah, he's throwing up all these conspiracy theories that just have no base and no validity to them. And they're just, his base is just eating them up and regurgitating them themselves, out to the internet, which kind of just amplifies everything, and it just makes it worse at the end of the day.
Oh God, he loses he loses his Twitter privileges on January 20th.
Yeah, I was reading that he gets like his protected status is like they take
Is
it away.
done. Yeah.
I wonder how long he'll last on Twitter after January 20th.
I don't know. He doesn't like to be blocked. He doesn't like to lose. He doesn't like anything negative against him. So he tends to ignore a lot of
Yeah,
things.
and like the way he talks right now, like the way he's tweeting and stuff like that, it makes me wonder like is if he's having, like you say, he doesn't like to lose. He's not used to losing. He's not used to people cheering for his demise and booing him when he's pulling into the White House. And this is a presidential election. It's a historic event. It's going to go down in history forever. He's going to go down in history forever as the loser.
Yeah.
And I think to him mentally, like that messes with him like bad, to the point where I think he might break or like crack or have some sort of, I mean, I'm sure internally, like in the White House, he's probably had some moments of like where he's like hyperventilating or like freaking out, or like in complete denial. He's in complete denial that he's lost, and the people around him are kind of just yes men that are like trying to pat him on the back, like, oh, we'll get this, don't worry, we'll turn it around, we'll figure out a way to win this for you.
We'll
And
win
it's
this for you,
it's
sir.
it's sad, but at the same time it's scary, because like I said, I think the biggest damage is going to be done to the system, our election system, and how it's
Well,
run, how it's looked at.
are we I read an article today that said Donald Trump is just the beginning, because if the Congress and the Senate, if the Democrats don't have full control, nothing will get done. And the next Donald Trump who comes up might be a dangerous lunatic, worse than this one that will do things that are, so this is the beginning of the undermining of a democracy.
I'm almost
And
positive. Or go ahead, finish.
no, I was just saying, this is the beginning. This is it. This is the doors flung open now. And I realized that we needed a shakeup, because when you look at the curve of the debt that we're in, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and something's got to give. You can't go deeper and deeper into debt and not crash somewhere.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump was the beginning of a, a long future history of problems that we're going to have, because we're divided, we're in debt, the pandemic, Trump. You look at these things. 2020, it wasn't just 2020. 2020 was a bad year. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but it has been the last 2 decades of this downhill slide of partisanship and lack of national unity, and it's not going to be pretty. I don't think it's going to turn out very well for us in the next 5 years.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard without, um, with split control of Congress
Yeah.
to get, you know, policies passed or, bills passed, laws made.
Do we still have a chance in the Senate
Yeah,
in Georgia?
the Democrats would have to win both runoff elections, and that would be a
What's
50-50 tie.
what's the chance of that happening?
Um, Honestly, I don't know. It. I mean, the fact that Georgia is like flip blue, I think heavily increases the chances. I think what the Democrats have to do is kind of keep their foot on the gas and kind of like reinvigorate that voter base. Like, okay, you guys came out for the general election, but we really need you to come out for these runoff elections now.
Okay. Well, then there's a chance.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance.
There's a chance, and even if it's 50-50, you know who the tiebreaker is.
Yeah, and
Harris.
then there's like midterms for in like 2 years,
Yeah.
so a few seats can flip there.
What you know what? Like, we got kind of dark there because it's a dark time. But I would like to back up just a minute, and I would like to say I'm pretty excited of the prospect of Kamala Harris, because that really changes everything. It changes everything for us. It gives hope to people that really didn't have hope before, and that's a beautiful thing, man. I'm really kind of proud of our country. Well, half of our country. I'm really proud of that 74 million people that chose Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. She's a bright spot in this for me.
Yeah, I like her. I mean, I'm one of those people that I will like, regardless of who it is, I'll criticize them for I'll praise them for the good things and I'll criticize the bad things.
Sure.
And she's definitely had some some questionable moments, especially as Attorney General here in California, that they were brought up during the primary process. So I'm very interested to see how um, she behaves going forward. If she's kind of softened on a lot of those things, if she's more progressive.
We can hope. I mean,
Yeah, I definitely hope she is.
because to me, when you say someone is a progressive, and I include myself in that group of people, when you say someone's progressive, you learn from your mistakes, and you say, yeah, I didn't think like that before, which I've said several times in this podcast. When I was a West Virginian and I was uneducated, I'm very ashamed of how I acted and what I believed and what I said. And remember, Wham, Lavin,
Yeah.
when he was on the show, he was like, I'm ashamed of myself in the past, but I've changed. That's a progressive to me. That's part of the definition of being a progressive.
Yeah, you could definitely. I'm a heavy believer in that people can change.
Yeah, of course.
So we'll see what she does. I'm pretty excited, especially like I said, after having 4 years of kind of like doom and gloom. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and like I remember when it was kind of certain after they called Pennsylvania for Biden, so he got like the 270. I like posted this thing on Instagram that said, like congratulations, Joe. Like I look forward to praising all your accomplishments and criticizing all your mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because, he's not like some savior. I I like that people are celebrating his victory and his win, but now it's time to, as they say, like go to work. You know, now it's time to uh try to make change where you want change.
Yeah. We believed in you. Now show us what you can do,
Exactly.
basically. And
And
that's a beautiful thing, man.
yeah. So he has 4 years. I don't. I'm hard pressed on thinking that he would run again in 4 years. Like I was saying earlier, I'm almost positive Donald Trump's going to run again in 4 years. You were talking about how they're kind of waiting on the next Donald Trump. I think the next Donald Trump is going to be Donald Trump in 4 years. Barring
Really?
any like health issues or um, like legal issues that he may come across. If he's like free of any of that, um, I'm almost certain he will run again.
You think he'll pardon himself? I hate to go off on a tangent here when we're almost done, but what? Really? You're going to I hereby pardon myself. What?
I don't think
That
he
is,
can. I don't
I
even think
don't
that's
think
the.
that's the letter of the law, but how
I'm sure
when
he'll
you
try though.
interpret it, it says it never says anywhere in the law that you can't pardon yourself. I think that was just a given 240 years ago.
I mean, even then, if Joe Biden, like, if he gets, like indicted for something, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Biden pardons him, just because I think that's like it's more like of an optics thing at that point.
That would certainly soothe the nerves of the nation. It certainly would,
Yeah, and there's gonna be
because
a lot of
those who
people that would
voted,
be. I was gonna say there would be if that happens, there's gonna be a lot of people that are, that would be pissed, especially at Joe.
yeah.
But I mean, I understand the move if it
See,
happens.
that's where I was going. You said I understand. I would also understand. I would say, okay, that's not something. Putting Donald Trump in jail would be disastrous. You got half the country who supported this person. So you take 70 some million people, and there's a faction of those people that certainly believe deeply in what Donald Trump is. And to offend that many people by putting him in jail, I think that by Joe Biden pardoning Donald Trump, if he got in legal trouble, would it would the progressives on his side would be like, man, that sucks, but I get it.
Yeah,
That
I
would
mean,
that would be a beautiful thing.
I wouldn't lose any sleep if he was, thrown in jail for like the rest of his life. And if Joe like decided not to pardon him, I'd be like, okay, cool. Like I'm not against that either.
Right.
Um, but like I said, I would understand because I mean it's happened before, right, with Nixon. So
Gerald Ford. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so
was 10 years old when that happened, dude. I was like, oh, I still remember that. Still
yeah,
remember that.
like I said, it just comes back to the optics of like this dude was our president, now he's in jail, so it kind of makes America look bad.
Yeah, we don't want to be like Nicaragua or something.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. And I think he's gonna go out kicking and screaming. I think he might like try to sign all these orders and like do as much damage as he can once, especially after the elections, the state elections get certified, which I think
Yeah.
is like mid-December. Um,
December the 8th is their deadline.
yeah. So I think after that, especially when it's like certain, like it's done, like your days are numbered, you know. Um, he's gonna try to do as much damage on his way out as he possibly can. If you look at, I think it was the Pentagon. There was like all the top positions like either quit or got fired like in one day.
Yeah, that's really like a something that a deposed dictator would do right
Yeah,
there.
Donald Trump definitely gives me like fascist vibes if that was a thing. So
I
I
don't
think
even
he's
see it.
extremely dangerous.
I see him as dangerous also, but I don't see him as a fascist so much as I see him as a self-centered, egotistical, self-serving, like just completely narcissistic son of a bitch. I really
Yeah,
do. I don't see him as this, you know, Mussolini kind of fact.
he's
I
too
don't see
self-centered
that.
to. Because I think, yeah, I kind of agree with you now that I think about it. Because I mean, like like you said, Mussolini and like all these people, it was all for something greater, you
Yeah.
know. But I think for Trump, there is nothing greater than himself. So
That's perfect. That is perfect what you just said. There's nothing greater than Donald Trump in Donald Trump's mind.
it's gonna be hang on for
Mussolini
these
it was
last couple
about
weeks.
country, and Hitler it was about country and the future of Germany, the future of Italy, all these things that they had. Donald Trump's not about the future of America. He's going to burn the motherfucker down before he leaves.
Hmm.
That is terrible. That is just that's a mental illness. That's not politics.
Yeah,
It's a sad, sad, sad day. I don't know.
can't
I
wait till
don't
it's
even.
over though.
You know what, dude? Me and you both. It has been 4 years of the up and down of I can't listen to it for anymore, and I go a few weeks, and then you just get sucked right back into it, and every single day is 25 headlines with the word Trump in it, and it's like this is not healthy for a
Hmm.
country. This is not
Yeah,
the way it should be. And hopefully Mr. Biden will calm it down a little bit, but like I said before, I have hope, but man, I just see
it's a tough road ahead for sure.
it's a rough road for this country for a few years. And with this pandemic on top of it, and it's kind of disheartening at this point. But as the eternal optimist that I am, I see Biden and Harris making a huge turnaround in the first couple years. I really do.
I hope so.
Oh, I hope so too. Because I don't think we can take much more, man. But we have a hell of a podcast because of it.
That's true. I wonder what we're gonna have to talk about after he's out of office. I'm sure we'll think of something.
Well, you keep saying you want to criticize Biden. I'm sure he'll do some
Yeah, I'll
stupid
criticize him for
shit.
sure. I I I wouldn't say I like criticizing people, but I'm like the object. I try to be objective, when it comes to um, people making mistakes or creating bad policies.
Yeah.
So look
Well,
forward to it.
that's what I like about you, in that you are able to separate the good from the bad. It's like this man is our president, so he's completely right no matter what he does. No, I wouldn't trust the cashier at Food Max to do everything right all the time. Okay, so why
Yeah,
am I going to trust this guy?
exactly.
And I'm glad he won. I hope that they certify this soon. I read today that there's a subtle shift in Trump's tweets where he's beginning to give up. Like he said something today, at least save the Senate. And
Yeah, I mean, there's reports of like internally people are kind of like coming to him and be like, "Hey, like it's done, like it's over," you know.
yeah, and
Um,
I don't think that he is a dumb man by any means. He's a very intelligent man. He's
yeah, for
president of the
sure.
United States. He fooled us all. But he doesn't want to give up, and his narcissism, and I get it. But when you look at the subtleties of what is happening and you say, okay, when someone says, at least save the Senate, okay, that at least, that's starting to tell me that he's, okay, at least save the Senate. I know I lost, but at least save the
Yeah,
Senate.
that's also one of the big things like that's against the whole voter fraud issue. Like how Republicans did extraordinarily well this election, like down ticket. They gained
Yeah.
seats in the Senate. I mean, in the House of Representatives, and then
Governors. Yeah.
they did really well in the Senate. Like they held on to all their seats for the most part. You know, we're gonna see what happens in Georgia, but like, how did all these Republicans do very well, and then Donald Trump did, bad? I mean, I wouldn't say bad because I mean he had like the second most votes in like U.S. history, but he lost. So
Right.
that kind of shows you a lot of people, a lot of voters, um, were in this mindset of like, I may not fully support Joe Biden, but I just want this dude out of here. Like I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not a politician. He's not. And that's not a bad thing. But he's also not a statesman. He's not ethical. He's not moral. He's not a lot of things that we
Yeah,
need in a leader.
yeah. So I think it's becoming more clear to him that of like the reality of things.
And that's a good thing. And
I
hopefully,
kind of want to see him get dragged out though. Like I'm not gonna lie, I would pay for that. I would pay money to see that.
well, put some pay per view, put some body cams on some CIA and FBI and military
Secret
and pay per
Service.
view that
Yeah,
stuff, man. Come on.
I'm down for that.
I bet you that you could pay off a lot of the national debt if you pay per view.
A lot of COVID relief right there.
People from all over the world for tune in for that one.
Mm-hmm.
And before we go, I'd like to say it is really refreshing to me to see so much of the world just celebrate that he's gone.
Yeah,
It's like they were rooting for us all the time. Like, man, you are
really
under.
says a lot.
It really says a lot to me, and hopefully, if we make it through the pandemic, I can go back to traveling the world again. I didn't do it for a really long time because just really don't want to go any place where Americans not or I took it as Americans aren't looked at as friendly but it seems like it appears that they felt sorry for us.
I mean, I would too if I was looking at it from the outside. So I don't blame them.
All right, man. Well, it has been a good time. I appreciate you, Francisco. I'm gonna go and start editing this. I should have it on by Saturday.
Oh, before we go, real quick, I think it's been, like I said, it's been a while since we recorded one.
Yeah.
So I just want to give a shout out to the boys in blue, the Dodgers, for winning the World Series.
All right.
It's been a long wait. And they finally did it.
How long's it been?
It was 32 years.
32 years.
Yeah,
All
since
right.
1988, since they won it last. So
Well, I would like to give a shout out to my 8-0 Steelers, baby.
I don't want to talk about football right now, just because the Patriots are like 3-5, but it's a long season. We still got.
Yeah, but
There's still
Brady's
hope.
doing so well in Tampa Bay.
It hurts to watch, but I mean, I still wish them the best.
I do
Unless
too.
unless they play us, but other than that, I'll root for him.
I just see Brady as that late in life OJ Simpson, sitting on the beach in San Francisco with his broken knees in the water, just a complete. he shouldn't have came back, you know?
That dude's probably one of the healthiest players in the league. And he's 43 years old. He has like this whole like healthy like lifestyle method. He calls it the TB12 method.
Yeah. It's not winning in many ball games though.
I mean, they're doing pretty good at the Bucks. And I mean, he has 6 rings, so you can't really.
That's true, man. He has 6 rings and I don't have any. So
And he got them all with the Patriots, so that's all I care about.
Oh my God, are we going to have to come on and do a sports podcast? I think we might.
I've talked to a few friends that would be down for that. I have a few friends that are big. I have a baseball friend and then like a football friend. So
Okay.
We definitely bring them on.
I'll come in and talk about the heart attack Steelers falling apart halfway through the game and then saving it with 30 seconds left. I'm good. Whatever, a win's a win, man.
I'm down for that.
All right,
I'm always down to talk sports.
All right, cool. Well, get ready, man. I'm going to ask for your name here. This has been...
I think I got it down by now.
All right, cool. This has been Robert.
And Francisco.
Yeah, man. And we're the Thoroughly Wrong podcast. Tune in next time when we are going to talk about whatever we were going to talk about. Take it easy.
We'll figure it out.
Be safe. We'll figure it out. All right. Later. You have been listening to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your hosts, Francisco and Robert. If you enjoyed today's show, like, follow, leave a comment, and then look in the description where you'll find our website, Instagram, and Twitter feeds. Until next time, thanks for listening. And just remember, never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.